Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Keeping Up with Keith interview series. I have an amazing guest. She is just amazing. I knew she was a star the first time. She did. I saw her meteorologist reel, and she's doing great stuff. So today we are keeping up with Ryan Jones, who's a meteorologist at NBC5 Dallas.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Keith.
Yes, absolutely. So, today is, well, it is Black History Month, so happy
It
Black
is.
History Month. And yes, and this is very important because you recently did a post about you are the youngest Black female meteorologist in a
Yeah,
top five market.
yeah.
And as I think about the first Black female meteorologist, June Bacon Bursey. So, what does her legacy mean to you and you now have creating history yourself?
It's funny. I never really considered that I'd ever make any type of history when I was getting into this career. I just wanted to do it because I wanted to be the representation that I didn't see. And I love this job, this passion of mine, which is weather. And so when I actually did a project in school on June Bacon Piercy, and I was like, I did you know that there was this woman? She was a Black female meteorologist. She was the first to ever do it. And I became obsessed with her. I did a whole research project over her. And I never thought that the history that she's making, I could ever be a part of a little bit of that history. But it's kind of happening. And I made that post not really thinking it would do anything. I'm not going to lie. I don't really post stuff like that. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, I didn't know that about you. Have you told anybody that? And I was like, no. She was like, you need to tell someone that. So that's why I made the post because she was like, hello, that's big. Sometimes ourselves were like, oh no, it's not
Yeah.
the deal. So yeah, she's definitely an inspiration of mine. And I am glad that I could also be a trailblazer like her.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is a big deal because, black boys, black men, girl, I mean, anyone looking up to you, seeing someone in that stature, especially because
Yeah.
Dallas is a very extremely tough weather market, extremely tough.
Yeah.
I always say it's the market where weather does actually kill people. Yeah, so it's very important. Like people count on the meteorologists there more than the news anchors, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
So having that inspiration is very important. But I want to talk about your career, how it all started, because I first met you through a meteorologist Facebook group, and you posted your weather reel, and I just thought, this girl, she's a star. She has potential. And I was like, I had to reach out to my mentor because he was at NBC. And, I know you were interning at NBC, and I thought we need to snatch this girl up, keep her within the Peacock family. Like, this is someone that we need to grow and mature because I just thought you were amazing back then. And you were an amazing student because you were, correct me if I'm wrong, were you also working while you were going to school as well?
Yes, I was. I was a full-time college student. This was my senior year. I was a full-time college student. I was also working weekend mornings in Jacksonville. So it was about a 2-hour travel between where my school was and where the actual station was. And I would work weekend mornings and then go back to school on Monday. So yeah,
Wow, that is dedication. Wow. Okay. Okay.
they're telling me.
So, yeah. So, I mean, how did that all happen? So tell me.
So, one, I would say I'm grateful for the experience. I am so grateful for the experience because had that not have happened, I would not be here. That being said, I would not recommend it to everyone because it was a grind. Like, I mean, that's it. It was a grind to do it, but I finished my internship. It was my first internship where they allowed me to be on air. And that was something that I really asked for. I was working in East Texas. And after that internship, I guess I had done well enough that they were like, what do you want moving forward? Like, how can we help you? And I was like, I want to continue progressing my on air, on camera skills, and I would like to be on air while I'm in school. And the company that I was working with and doing the internship with at that point, they were like, okay, well, the nearest station that we have is 2 hours away from your college. And I was like, okay. And they're like, and the only shift we can put you on is weekend mornings. And I was like, sign me up. So that's what we did.
Mhm.
And I would go to school Monday through Friday. And then on Friday, right before my last class, I would pack up all my stuff, put it in my car, go to my class. After my class, drive 2 hours to a friend's house that I would be staying at. And then wake up or go to sleep at like 5 o'clock, wake up at 12 a.m., drive 45 minutes to the station, work. And then I do that on Sunday. And then I pack up all my stuff and then go back to school on Monday. And when I tell you that was a sacrifice right there, but I am so grateful for the experience because it really built something in me. A true hustle, a true passion, and just work ethic at its purest form. And I'm grateful for the experience, but I didn't get a lot of sleep at that point in time, Keith. I'm not gonna lie. I was not sleeping.
Yes, I'm like, "Oh god," I guess you'd have no parties, just work and school.
Goodness, yeah, and I mean, I think that's even something to say too when you're in college and everyone else is like, "Hey, you wanna" I'm like, "No, I gotta drive and I gotta work." But if it's something that you truly are pursuing and something that you truly love, the sacrifices don't seem like a lot at that time. It's only when you can look back and be like, "Wow, I can't believe I actually did do that." And you can appreciate the sacrifice after you've gone through it, you know?
Mhm, and then after you graduated, you continued that job for how many like, a few more years?
About half a year. Like, well, I'll say like a few more months before then I transitioned, came back home, and then started working for NBC here.
Okay, gotcha. So, how did we get to NBC Dallas? How did it all happen?
It's kind of crazy because it was not one of those things that I was expecting when I was looking for potential jobs. Like I'd had a few offers, praise God. I'd had a few of them. And I was really heavily considering them, but I really wanted to make my way back to Texas. That's what I knew. At that point in time, I was out of state at my entire college experience, and I was constantly going somewhere. So my priority for finding my next job was I want to be anchored somewhere. I don't want to be traveling 2 hours like I've been doing for the last year, but also I want to be closer to my family. And you and I both know when you first get in this business, you don't really have your pick of the litter sometimes. A lot of the time,
Yes.
it's very rare that you can work in a market and also be in your hometown at the same time. And it just so
Mhm.
happened that my hometown is a really large market. And so I was I didn't know that I could make it back to Dallas, but I was like, "You know what? One thing my church likes to say, and I love to say, is you don't have to wait to be great. So I'm not going to shortchange myself by thinking I'm too young to work in this market. So I'm going to
Mhm.
start casting my net and seeing what I get." And so through doing that, I, like, had an internship here.
Yes.
And my mentor actually works for our sister station, the Telemundo station. And
Mhm.
so before I even tried to apply, start talking to news directors, I was like, get me ready. Get me ready so that when I do come to this point in time where I want to ask, want to apply, I've been going through the process of really pruning myself to become a better meteorologist. So we went through, this was probably about like 8 months of
Yes.
ridiculous training, ridiculous criticism, like we're going to get it together, go again. And that was able to help me that by the time I was ready to apply and getting close to the end of college, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Now I start reaching out, and that's when I started, doing the networking thing. And yeah, it fell in the right people's laps, and here I am.
Okay. And so, for everyone who don't know, can you tell us what you're doing at NBC Dallas right now? What shift and how's it going?
So right now I work primarily, my home show is the afternoon show. So the midday show and any afternoon cut-ins. I'm a meteorologist here in Dallas Fort Worth, but depending on how the wind blows, sometimes I could be picking up other shifts. So you kind of see me all around, but my main show is the afternoon show.
Okay, awesome. And I know you mentioned your mentor, used to was working at the Telemundo station. So I guess, are you bilingual as well? No, okay, okay.
I'm not even gonna put it like that. I don't even want to go there. I took Spanish. I will say that I took like 3 or 4 years of Spanish. So that being said, I know, but I'm not gonna act like I'm bilingual at all. And my chief, people always ask that. Like even the Telemundo, my mentor, he's the chief of the Telemundo station. And people always ask him, is she bilingual? Not a bit. but we meet in the middle, so yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so for aspiring meteorologists, who want to get to where you are today, what advice do you have for them?
Uh, I would say to anyone aspiring to be a meteorologist, the first thing is kind of what I touched on before. You don't have to wait to be great. Your
Mhm.
age does not disqualify you from anything. And I think so many times as young people, we can immediately think, well, I'm not qualified to do this because I don't have the experience on my side. If you continue to work towards something, there's no reason your age should be something that ever disqualifies you for anything. So I would just say that you don't have to wait to be great. And another thing, I would say it's important to find a mentor. It is imperative that you find a mentor, especially in
Mhm.
this business, but in any business that you're in, you need someone with wisdom. And all wisdom is the experience to make a sound judgment, good calls, right? And so you need someone who knows more than you, who's constantly feeding into you because you will only get better. You shouldn't be around a bunch of people that don't have as much experience as you. You should be around people who have way more experience than you, so you can then pull and grab and be a sponge and get as much information as you can. So I would say get a mentor. It's important, and
Yes.
don't let your age disqualify you.
No, I co-sign that. I mean, having a mentor is very important. Have your board of directors
Yes,
because, yes, they can help you navigate this career that goes through
absolutely.
many changes.
Yeah,
Because sometimes, things are uncertain sometimes.
yeah,
I can say with myself, I experienced a layoff before, and before I was even looking for jobs, I had a mentor already looking for my next job for me, but no one's to me. And so that's how I got to, NBC4 Los Angeles
yeah,
there. And so just having a mentor that's very important. And also I know you're very passionate about STEM and really helping, the young people in STEM. So can you tell me a little more about that and your efforts there?
yeah. I feel like when you get into this career, you kind of carve out somewhat of a lane that's adjacent to what you're already doing. You just find, especially with being in a career like this, a lot of us are creatives already. And so we just kind of carve out something that goes along with what we're already doing. And one of the biggest things for me, I love working with students. Love it. I mean, obsessed. If anything, people tell me they're like, "You should have been a teacher." And I never really thought about that, but I was like, I just love working with students. I love teaching them about weather, but not only that, just aspiring them to have a passion in general. It doesn't have to be weather, it could be anything, but especially inspiring or encouraging minorities and young people, especially young Black students, to push them into the STEM field. It is important. We need more representation in this field. And not only that, it sounds like, okay, well, there's not many of me. Does that mean that I'm welcome here? You're absolutely welcome in the STEM field. If anything, you're needed more than ever. And just because you don't see the representation doesn't mean that you're not welcome somewhere. It almost means that you should be in those spaces. And so I try my best to just go around, if anything, just to be the representation that I would have wanted to see when I was a kid. If I had a meteorologist come to my fifth grade class when I was a kid and it was a Black woman, I would have dropped on that floor and lost my mind because that
Mhm.
was something that I craved to see so bad. If anything, it makes me really hesitant to even say no. I try and go to as many as I can. It's
Mm.
very rare that I will say no. I will make something work because in my mind, I think, what if there's that one little Black girl who always dreamt of being a meteorologist in that classroom that you just said no to? She's waiting to see you. And so that's what pushes me, what drives me to really work with these students in whatever way I can and help them in whatever way I can.
Oh, no, that's great. I was actually having a conversation with another, Tyra Majors about this because, she was on Forbes. Yeah, Forbes. And, talking about, the power of representation because she was telling me, yeah, I can go to a bigger market, but if I'm not in Seattle,
Yeah,
they lose that representation and they're
absolutely.
not going to see that inspiration there. So that's very important. And speaking of teaching, you are teaching people on social media the weather. I must say, your social media presence. is fantastic. I love it.
That's yes, thank
Like
you.
I have to say I'm surprised you gave yourself a grade of the winter forecasting because usually we're not that transparent
Look, I was
sometimes.
like, "Y'all are giving me a grade out here anyway and emailing me and everything." I'm like, "I'm gonna give myself a grade. How about that?" And because I think some people just assume they're just like, "Oh, they're just making it up. They don't really." I'm like, "No. I have been forecasting this event top to bottom, up, down, backwards, forwards for the last
Mhm.
week before this thing even got here." So absolutely, I'm gonna give myself a grade. I want to see how I did for myself. Like, yeah. Yeah, so I did. I gave myself a grade, but one thing here, my chief is first of all, he's a huge weather nerd. I mean, one of the biggest I've ever met, and aside from myself. And
Yes.
he is he puts an emphasis on the weather, the forecast. Yes, we are also on TV, and your personality and the way you communicate is also very important. But at the end of the day, the people of North Texas rely on us to give them accurate forecasts. So when we have weather events like this, what did we do wrong? Let's actually figure out how can we forecast better. So I did what we normally do. I just put on some glasses and pulled out a little Swiffer mop as my baton and filmed it. But we normally do great ourselves.
Okay. And so how do you come up with the concepts that you're doing for reels? How do you come up with those concepts?
It's this has been uh, a bit of a struggle for me recently, or just now that I've really made it one of my 2026 goals and just things that I'm really trying to get better at is consistency on social media because I realize we're shifting, that the
Mhm.
industry is shifting. Like I mean at
Yes.
record speed right now. And there are a lot of people my and it's really my it's people like me, my age in our 20s right
Yes.
now. When I talk to them, like, "Oh, I don't watch the news," which I'm like, "You're not hurting my feelings when you say that. Your mom and dad are, and that's all that matters to
Yeah.
me." That being said, when I've heard that so many times from my friends, it makes me a little nervous because I'm like,
Mhm.
"So you're telling me you walk outside and you don't know if it's going to rain. You don't know if it's going to be 30 degrees by the time you leave work. You don't know these things." And it made me nervous after hearing so many of my friends say that. So I was like, "Okay, I'm going to shift to where you are. I'm going to meet you
Mhm.
where you're at. And I'm going to go and bring the weather information to you. If you don't want to turn on your TV and watch me, that's fine. I'm going to bring it to you because it's important that we're aware, we know this information. Weather is something that affects us all. And I just try and deliver it in a way that can gather attention and keep attention, but you're learning something at the end of the day. I just want you to learn something.
Yes, no, that's very important because people are just relying on their apps for the
Yes.
weather information.
Yes.
I feel like I want it from a person. I because
Yes.
they can give me that context that they can tell me how my yes, I know the app has hour by hour, but the meteorologist can walk me through the
Yes.
day and tell me, "Oh, is this abnormal, seasonal? I don't know." There
And
may be a yeah.
it's important. I mean, it is like the one thing that I always say that the apps do not have, other than the NBC DFW app. You should that's
Smart. Yes.
okay. But the one thing that I say that the apps don't have that we as meteorologists do have, we have human interpretation. Those apps do not have human interpretation. We are constantly looking at the forecast. Even though one model may say this, we are looking at the different scenarios and we're able to give you a forecast based on all of these different things, not just one model that they're plugging and pulling. Like, that's why when you see the app and it says it's going to snow on Friday, and then all of a sudden it just switches to, it's because it doesn't have that human interpretation. It's just plugging whatever it can and then fixing as it goes. And so it's important. Like, I mean, I get that. One thing that I have really been researching, I did a class on this. It's called media literacy.
Mhm.
Our these these young people, I sound like I'm somebody's auntie, but like the generations as they go on and on and on, we are lacking media literacy, which is
Mhm.
the ability to fact check what we are seeing. We equate media literacy to, okay, this person has a lot of likes, so I think everything that she's saying is correct. We're losing this foundation of expertise. These people know what they're talking about, credibility. We equate, okay, well, she has a bunch of likes and a bunch of comments, so I'm going to believe everything she says. But these people are not experts, and they're trying to clickbait, scare you into commenting, following all of these things. And so, yeah, we got to be a little bit more media literate.
No, I agree. I mean, especially when it comes to snow totals, 'cause sometimes why are you issuing out a snow map maybe a week before the storm happened?
Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Right. Because 20
I'm like
inches.
I'm
Because
like the
20 inches is crazy. Okay. Right. 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 Right.
yes, because the forecast could change. I mean, I gotta go by based on my personal experience because we had a huge we well, someone wrote an article that, "Oh, California was gonna get dumped with this huge atmospheric river." I mean, yeah, up north, but when it came but when it came to Southern California, it was just a cut-off low.
Yes. Let's see. Just using terms like you don't even know what that means, but you don't know what that means. And look, I'm not shading anyone. I get it. We're all trying to do our jobs out here.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we're giving people information. Now, sometimes that information is not as accurate as we would like, but that's why we're important to explain those things because you're talking about bomb cyclone. These people don't know what that is. Like it's terms like that that need context, which is why meteorologists are important because we actually study these things.
Yes, and actually speaking of context, because again, you were covering a cold snap, a storm, gosh, last week, I think, yeah, last
We
week.
know the
Yeah, so tell me, for people who don't know about when meteorologists are covering these huge weather events, what goes into them? Like forecasting and pinpointing, making sure you have the most accurate information as possible.
Well, so I'll walk you through kind of the way it went for me.
Yeah.
I came in the weekend before it happened. I had my forecasts together. I had seen a couple models signaling this, and I was like, okay, I'm keeping my eye on it. I use a box and whisker plot a lot of time to just see this
Mhm.
of temperatures, how guidance is has a spread on the temperatures. I saw 20 for the next weekend on the very bottom, and I saw 60 on the very, very top, right? So to me, I look at the median and I'm like, okay, somewhere within the 40s. I know that there's going to be a cold front that comes through. It's going to be pretty, pretty strong. So I'm keeping my eye on this because if we do have these rain chances, okay, I know that there can be a brief overlap time where then now we can possibly say there's going to be some type of winter precipitation. Again, this is all in my mind
Mm.
going into the weekend before. I come in on good old MLK Day, the models have completely flipped. I mean, when I talk about a 1-8, like it just snapped.
Mhm.
There now all of a sudden we have a forecast where we are now predicting not if there's going to be some winter precipitation, it's how much. And that was a 12-hour shift. So to the point where I walk in and I'm like, so am I not doing my job correctly? Because I didn't even think that this was going to be like oh, this is for sure happening, especially so far out. Time is everything in
Mhm.
this job. And they even put something in our discussion that we have with the National Weather Service. They were like,
Yes.
just know this changed in literally 12 hours. Like this was just like a flip just out of nowhere. And it showed me, okay, this forecast is flip flop, just wishy washy right now. And I'm like, who's to say in the next 12 hours it won't flip flop on me again? So I make a social media video about it. That's where it starts. I know you're probably seeing a lot of these videos saying there's going to be 20 inches of snow or ice in Dallas this weekend. Let me tell you what we know and what we don't know. So, one of the biggest things that I found is don't try and band aid anything. Don't put a band aid on anything. Go ahead and open it up for what it is and just talk about what you're seeing. Because I think a lot of times as meteorologists, we're so focused on accuracy that we can almost trick ourselves into believing, well, if they're seeing it on the Apple weather app or some weather app that there's going to be a chance of snow. I don't need to talk about it. No, 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 no. That's why they're going to that because they see that there's something coming this weekend. So it's my job as the meteorologist not to shy away from it, but to say, okay, you may see that, but let me bring you back to reality of what's actually happening and what we're looking at right now. So that's where I started. As we get closer and closer, basically to the end of the week and the system coming, now I know, okay, my coverage is going to have to pick up because now we know this is coming. People are asking questions and they're coming to us to figure that out. If I don't have the answers for them, why am I on this platform in the first place? And so at that point in time, I was like, get in gear, even though we have a bunch of other stuff we're doing, we're going 12 on, 12 off for winter coverage.
Yes.
That's like, that's a long day at work. They have us in a hotel, so we have to pack up all of our stuff, get ready for and get ready for work, and then we're working all day. And so my primary job was to be on the platforms in the space because yes, on air is very, very important, but social media is very important too because what are people doing, especially on a weekend when they're sitting there and there's a winter storm?
On their phone.
Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. That's important. Like even the timing of when it's happening is why it's so much more important is because people are already scrolling on weekends. So give them the information that they need to be looking for. And so yeah, I was editing like 3 videos a day, I think, Keith, doing live streams in between editing each video and trying to give people as much information. I know it was a long answer, but yeah.
No, 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 that's good. That's important, especially because I think so, especially now since social media is such an important part of your jobs now. How do you guys, what are some tips do you recommend for, I guess, for meteorologists who are trying to, build up that social media following, be a little bit more creative? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, that's been my journey. I'm trying to build right now. Like I'm not even where I want to be, but I'm growing towards what I am hoping to be. And one thing that I will say is when you're on a team, right? We
Hmm.
team of 6 including me. And that being said, when you're on a team and they're telling everyone we all want you to create content. Well, although that is great, it makes your job a little bit harder because we're all meteorologists. What are we all going to be talking about? This is an update on the winter storm. This is an update on the winter storm. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I would challenge someone in my position to be like, okay, how can you spin this though? What is something other than an update? Because those are important too, but we don't need 6 different updates. The update's going to be the same. All 6 of us are looking at the same information. Where's somewhere that people need to know this, relates to the information that everybody else is giving, but it's a little bit of a different take. And so that's when my primary job became, okay, I'm not doing any updates in a traditional format. I'm going to turn this. Yes, the winter storm is important, but why is it important to you? So then I started doing, okay, winter storms and electric vehicles. People have so many electric vehicles, especially here in North Texas. How is this going to affect them? So then I started doing that. I started talking about what happens when these metal roofs are collapsing because of the snow load and ice load on top of them. Making videos like that are still pertaining to what we're all seeing, but just in a
Hmm.
little bit of a different way. I reached out to business owners and church leaders because my own church leaders were asking me, do we need to cancel service on Sunday? And I'm like, well, if I'm giving them this information, I bet they wish they had a meteorologist too. Let me make a video for them. So just challenging the way that we think. Instead of doing things always in a traditional format, what's a way that you can still relay the information, but in just a little bit of a different way?
Okay, gotcha. So we're gonna wrap this up. So I have a few rapid fire questions for you. Okay, so
And be
what is
fast.
your what is your favorite type of weather to forecast?
My favorite type of weather to forecast. Gee, why would you ask me that question? Why would you ask me that question? I think any type of severe weather, right, and thunderstorms, but if I can be a little bit more specific, like a derecho is like insane.
Okay.
That's my favorite like weather system. So yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, I say if you had to describe yourself, how do you describe yourself as a weather element? As a weather element.
a derecho. Like
Okay.
it's fast. It's something that not everybody's heard of. It's a little bit of a different flavor, but when it comes through is powerful. And it's super cool. So,
Gotcha. And I guess who is your weather idol? Who do you look up to the most?
okay, this is so crazy. My weather idol, and I'm not just trying to say this. my weather idol, and everyone knows this from when I was in high school, is actually my chief meteorologist. I was like number one supporter of him and like was the chief of his fan club. And so now that I actually get to work with him is actually like one of the most crazy experiences in my life. And my dad and I were talking about this. We were like, it's not every day that you get to not only meet someone who's really inspired you, but actually get to know them. That's what makes it really cool. And they want to get to know you as well. So yeah.
I know Valentine's Day is coming up. What is your description of weather of a perfect date?
That's a good question. My perfect Valentine's Day date weather is overcast skies. It adds a little bit of, like, mood and, like, gloominess to the air, but you don't want sprinkles, and you don't want any drizzle because that's gonna frizz up your hair. That's not cute. You want overcast skies. So after maybe a front has moved through and it's trying to clear west to east, that's perfect, and then now you've got northerly winds, so you can wear, like, a cute turtleneck and a cute coat, but it's not, like, cold, like, you gotta stay inside. You know what I'm saying? Like, wear a little cute stiletto boot. That is my perfect, like, gloomy, overcast skies. Perfect.
Love that. And so what is Ryan keeping up on these days?
I am trying to really be in the space of social media a lot more, pushing that content out so that I can teach people and allow people to develop a passion for weather and just be in the know about what's going on. It's important. And also, I'm planning a wedding. So, all of those things are keeping me very, very, very busy these days.
Yes, absolutely. And anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just so happy that we're getting to talk, and it's a very full circle moment considering how you discovered me and to now.
Yes, absolutely. And the sky's the limit for you. I mean, I don't know if you have network dreams, but I see it in your future.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
I really do. So, Ryan, where could my audience follow you at? Where could they find you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Ryan_MBC5. And you can also follow me on TikTok, that same username. And also, you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, all the platforms. I'm basically there. I'm very active.
Okay, gotcha. And it's Ryan with two N's.
Ryan with two N's, that extra N, because there's an extra bit of spice.
I love that. I love that. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. So, everyone, you can see this conversation on my channels. Again, you can follow me at Keeping Up a Peak. That's on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever, or even on LinkedIn as well. So, again, Ryan, thank you so much. And everyone, happy Black History Month, and see you next time.